Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Come on, man.
Sorry. Mr. Beaver's mic stand needs Viagra or Cialis this morning, it would seem, because it just won't stay up. Sometimes that happens. When one gets a little bit older, sometimes medication is required to keep things working properly. In this case, a mic stand. A mic boom arm, actually. I don't know why it's doing that. Might be time to order a new one. But we are here. We are live. And it's working. No, you're good. I can hear you loud and clear, sir. Yep. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. His camera's going out of focus now too. It's going to be one of those days. Hang on. I'll pull you offline while you get it fixed up. You can go ahead and fix it up in the background. I'm just going to take your camera offline here and give you a minute or two. I can see what you're doing. Just before we get the show started, I'm going to roll a little bit of video I shot yesterday. We were out. We did about, Bridget and myself did about a 10K walk around town. And I did capture the parade yesterday. This is a good, it's a very Canadian parade. I think you'll enjoy this as much as we did. And we have the Cobra Chicken Parade. As you can see, they hold up traffic whenever they want because they're the Cobra Chickens. You do not mess with the Canadian Cobra Chicken. And they take their sweet time because they know they are the superior beast. So I thought I'd share that with you. Looks like Mr. Beaver's all ready to go. How you doing, sir?
All right.
You're in focus. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, but I'm all the way over here and the mic is not in.
No, it's okay. God. The mic's fine. I can hear you. Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
All right.
You don't have to lean into it too much. It's quite sensitive, so it'll pick you up.
I know, but to get in the center, I'm so far away.
Oh. No, that's fine.
Try that. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 665 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Monday, June 9th, 2025, and it is a gray and blech kind of day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, and of course, right here on the side, but now I can't reach them because I'm too far away. The twins are here. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Have a interesting show for you today. Some weird stuff has been happening.
Say the least.
Yeah. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
I think it's pretty good, actually. Like I said, we did a 10K walk yesterday around town. From Went down to the river and shot some video and took a lot of photos of the city. And there you go. Now your camera's framing up perfectly. Excellent, sir. So yeah, no, mental health is good. I didn't, of course, I didn't sleep well because I simply don't. Although I did get an email the other day, and it's suggesting I try magnesium. Like there's a magnesium supplement you can
Hmm.
take to. It's supposed to help with sleep, so I'm going to look into that. You can order the product from Costco, amongst other places. I did see the email, just the preview, and I haven't. On the weekend, I tend to stay away from work related things, and I say work related as in podcast related, unless I'm doing a jazz show or something, which I intended to do Saturday, but I just couldn't get my shit together, and I had a complete anxiety attack on Saturday afternoon. So,
Mm.
yeah, and then my shoulder just took me right down. So it was a combination. Saturday wasn't a great day. Sunday was. So you roll with the punches when you get hit by them.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. I'm doing okay.
Yeah,
Doing
just
okay. Just okay. Yeah,
huh.
I'm just getting a little tired of being laid up.
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah,
So
been there, done that.
yeah,
Sick and tired of being sick and tired, right?
yeah, pretty much. I just want to do stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
just
hear you.
want to do stuff. So yeah, I'm boredom is setting in a bit. There's only, you know, so much news I can consume before I get tired and want to do something else. But there's just not much else to do
Yeah, yeah.
except lay back and heal. So
Which is the extent of it, right?
yeah, I know. Yeah, I listen. Out of all the troubles in the world, it's like not one of the big ones, and it's like probably not even like the biggest thing going on. But it's just like, oh God, like even in my own life, it's just like, I just want to get back into life again. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I had a social weekend. We went out to brunch with friends and stuff, and and I'm able to walk slightly further distances now with the crutches, given that they've been adjusted, but not far enough. Again, that I'm feeling independent, not enough yet to make it to the bus stop. Let's put it
Mm,
that way, without having to rest for about like half an hour. Well, it's not again, it's not the legs, right? It's right here, all the pressure
right.
pushing up from the crutches. That's what's really killing me. Although my uh, I'm clearly losing muscle mass in the other leg. I've lost about 10 pounds
Oh,
since one leg is visibly, if you look at them, smaller than the other now
yeah.
after just 3 weeks. So it's amazing how quickly it goes. My
Mm,
I'm not a particular big guy, but my if those have met me or have ever seen me in shorts, I got big legs for a small guy. So yeah, one is definitely much less meaty, put it that way. So there'll definitely be some physio and having to rebuild, and of course the the other one, because it's just being so solicited, especially now. If I can walk longer, well, then that means I'm longer on it. So when the other leg finally gets tired, it gets really tired because I haven't been activating it for only like 5 or 6 minutes, but like maybe like 10 or 11 or something, or 12, and it's like, okay, 12
mm,
extend on one leg for 12 minutes and see what happens.
mm.
Mm. At some point, it hurts. It's like, sit down now. Now, I don't care where it is. And if there's nothing to sit down, I will sit down on the floor. I just need to sit down now. So, like, I've like been on the street and sort of like, yep, I'm sitting down on the curb now.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
It's
What's that? You know?
just like, oh boy. But yeah, I'm just eager to rejoin life. And on I think it was Sunday, no, Saturday or Sunday, like this it was particularly hot, and I was like on the crutches, and it's like uh, your hands are sweating as you're trying to hold the grip on it. It's sort of like it's like, okay, now I need to stop, not because my hands are sore, because my leg are sore, but I just need to dry my damn hands.
Right.
It's like, it's just there's always something. But um, lovely, lovely lady on Sunday. when I had to stop, and there was a Starbucks close by. So I broke my no buy American rule because I just I had to stop. I had to stop, and I
We're
needed
not
air
perfect.
conditioning. I also needed a bathroom. So I went and ordered a hot chocolate, but then the trick was to get the hot chocolate from the counter to the table where I was sitting.
Mhm.
And a very, very nice young lady just proactively said, "Would you like me to help you with that?" I said, "Oh my God, thank you."
Mm.
So thank you. Random acts of kindness. Thank you, whoever you are. Uh, that was very nice, and it made the rest of my day very sunny because at that particular moment I was just like cross-eyed and oh, seeing white because my leg was so sore. Ah,
See some of the construction going on here in Ottawa Gatineau. That's Gatineau side, Hull. You can see that that's the Plaza de la Chaudière, the tallest building. They're redoing the entire building top to bottom. Some of the things we captured yesterday. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you.
all right. Ah, Mr. Grizzly, you had something um, to present today. I did not hear this part of it until Mr. Grizzly showed me because Mr. Grizzly says we want to talk about this, but maybe, and I said, I don't think that's particularly relevant until Mr. Grizzly told me that this happened.
Yeah.
Now it is.
Greta Thunberg says she has been kidnapped by Israeli forces. Now we'll scroll down to the proper. It's Israeli forces intercepted a Gaza-bound aid vessel on Monday and detained its passengers, including climate activist Greta Thunberg, amid ongoing restrictions on access to the Palestinian territory. We'll scroll down here to a video clip of Greta. I'll blow it up in full so you can see it, and let's just...
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
Well, the Israeli Foreign Ministry released a tweet and a video, and their tweet says all the passengers of the, in quotes, selfie yacht are safe and unharmed. They were provided with sandwiches and water. The show is over. I'm like, um, uh, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the clip. So, going to take a photo we are heading to Gaza. I say Benjamin Israel, and everything to do with the government.
Sorry, Mr. Grizzly, we couldn't hear you well while the thing was running.
Oh, what I was saying was this is a propaganda piece by Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government, not the people of Israel, because the people of Israel have been asking for a ceasefire for quite some time, but his government just doesn't seem to give a damn about anything and will do what they want. And I think largely because of the fact that he needs to desperately stay out of prison, because when this is all over, he is going to go to prison. There's no question in my mind. Everybody I've talked to in the know have said he's doing everything he can to keep this war going so that he can avoid a prison sentence.
Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. Listen, again, listen.
Well, we talked about it the other day.
Yeah.
Issues with the Modi government, not the people of India. We have issues with the Netanyahu government, not the people of Israel.
Right. Really. So, I mean, I really don't know what to make of this situation, really, right? Because you have a whole bunch of you could be looking at this from like many perspectives. People wondering, like, well, why did you go anyway? Because you knew there was a chance this could happen. Some people might look at the Greta Thunberg video and says, well, I don't know a lot of people who are kidnapped who make a video and say, I've been kidnapped with that type of calm and right?
Well, she said, remember though, she said, if you see this video, we've been kidnapped. It
Yes.
was a video that was
Yes.
made before in the
Yes.
event that it did take place.
Exactly. So, but you're going to having people take each one of these elements, right?
Mm.
And make a case. Why were they there? Wow. Doesn't look like she was all that in distress. And it's Israel going, well, look, we gave them sandwiches. Well, yes, at that point in time. What happened to them after that point in time? Right? So clearly there's a media campaign on both sides here. But here's the thing. This is clearly an attempt by the Netanyahu government to provoke in certain types of ways, right? Wants to send a message. I mean, I do not understand how, lowering the boom on Greta Thunberg, right? And people that are coming to want to help give aid in this particular manner
to people
is
who
in
are
any
starving.
is in any way helpful to the image of the Netanyahu government in any way.
Just makes it worse.
I do not know how punching down on Greta Thunberg, calling it the selfie idol, I don't understand how that wins anybody any points in any way, shape, or form. I mean, of all the people, let's put it this way, if Israel really does not want aid to go to Gazans in any way, shape, or form, Greta Thunberg is not their number one threat.
No.
Right? So I don't understand the logic behind this, because this is not how you make friends. This is not how you influence people. This is not how you convince people to come to your side. It's like, oh, well, I don't know what was going on about Israel and Gaza, but now that he stopped Thunberg, well, now I've decided.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. It's just dumb. I mean, and like I said, for me at least, it just further convinces me of the point that Mr. Grizzly has just said, that Benjamin Netanyahu has absolutely no interest in this war ending in resolution. He needs the problem more than he needs resolution. He needs the war more than he needs peace. And this is now becomes a PR nightmare for them, that they have to handle every day that they're in custody or detained or kidnapped or whatever the word you want to use. Because they're going to have to come to some resolution, because now it brings more of the attention of the entire world. Because it's going to be hard for any foreign nation to say, well, it's just Greta. Let Israel have her, right? That's not going to happen. She has an international stature.
Correct. And she's utilizing it to bring focus and the spotlight onto a problem, right? An issue. And so when you use your platform to do good in this world, I salute you.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the point of it, right? Do good.
Right. Do good. Because, this is clearly, I guess if I was going to refer it back to types of to activism that I did back in the day, I guess the reason why this is such a threat, I guess, to Netanyahu is because she is so likable. And she is such a force for good and positivity and that type of stuff, that allowing this to go on, I guess they've decided, again, a bee counter in the room with a calculator did the math and determined that her, or this mission, having more international publicity was more damaging than Israel, to Israel's government, than to actually do what they're doing now. Which is a very, very weird calculation. But somewhere, somebody there has decided that the PR hit from this is better than the PR hit. I don't know.
I just think Look,
Because all it does is draw attention to the fact that the Gazans are being starved.
it's going to have the opposite effect of what they want.
I know.
Netanyahu is getting the opposite effect of what he wants right now. It's like, dude, that was not a smart move. It
That was
really
not.
wasn't. You're not. I don't know who your PR people are, but you should fire them all because this is not highlighting things in a positive manner.
It's just dumb. It's
We're
just
trying to provide aid to people who are desperate. They do not have weapons. They're pacifists. It's just, and look, what happened on October 7th was abhorrent, and Israel responded as they should have. It's just they haven't stopped responding to a single event.
I don't see the benefit. I don't see the purpose. I don't see the. I mean, seriously, even if you, I hate saying this like this, but even if Netanyahu wanted all Gazans dead from starvation, how much food and stuff is that yacht going to bring in?
Yeah.
For how many people? For how many days?
Yeah, there's a few million people in Gaza. Well, anyway.
Right? I mean, if you were purely Machiavellian, right, you just let the boat sail through and just like, what good are they going to do? And move on.
Mm-hmm.
What real, concrete good? So this, I don't understand throwing the full weight of the state at this. It's just dumb. It gets people's backs up. It makes it much harder for anyone to support you. Like, don't come and tell me that Prime Minister Carney and Prime Minister Starmer and President Macron, who signed that joint declaration a few years ago, that's going to make them any more inclined to say, "Oh well, gee, we were wrong. We see the error of our ways now." There's right. It's more likely going to have like, dudes, we just told you a couple of weeks ago, and now you're doing this. Like, do you really want us to cut off? And this is how you lose friends. Because, and already the government of Israel is having trouble holding on to certain friends.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that we're still doing because we have long-term standing agreements with the nation of Israel that we hope last longer than this particular administration. And you don't want to undo them. But this administration is making it very, 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 very hard for their traditional friends and allies to want to stand by those agreements. Nobody wins but Netanyahu in this thing. And this victory is, I get to keep my butt out of jail longer, but he's got so many other means to do that than detaining a yacht that has Greta Thunberg and a bunch of do-gooders on it.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And I know there's a whole section aside that will turn around and say, well, she was dumb for putting herself in that situation. Okay, yeah, maybe you can make that point, but it still doesn't change the fact that the people in Gaza are starving. Somebody's got to do something or say something. Right? And as we keep on saying, if not you, who? When we say democracy is something that you do, it's like, get up and put your skin in the game. She got up, she put her skin in the game.
Here's the thing. The more that Netanyahu does things like this, the more it increases anti-Semitic behaviors from people around the world, which I don't agree with. I'm dead set against it. But that's people use this as an excuse.
There's a direct link.
There is. Like it or not. Accept it or not. It's as simple as that. There is a direct link.
Yeah.
So it's just he's not helping his people. He's harming them.
Well, yes. And on top of that, he's harming Jewish people all around the world.
Yeah, yes.
As well. He's expanding the harm.
He doesn't seem to see that. He doesn't care. He just wants to keep his ass out of jail.
Well, at one point, I know it's an uncomfortable question to ask, but somebody got to ask: does Netanyahu really care about the Jewish people? Really, or is this about something else now? It just seems to be that the caring for the people is really secondary here.
Mm.
It seems more like a fig leaf of pretext for a whole bunch of other things than the actual core of the mission at the moment. And, well, I mean, it's a sign that if anybody had any hope that any of this stuff was going to end anytime soon, it's until, and here's the thing, right? Is until somebody gets rid of Netanyahu, this continues. But if you get rid of Netanyahu, most of his cabinet is even further to the right and even more extreme than he is.
Yeah.
So who replaces it once you create the vacuum? And does it stop? I don't think so. I do not see any off-ramp or exit. I mean, all the potential off-ramps have been offered to this man. There's just no interest in it. I mean, at some point, I don't know why the world conversation hasn't turned to this yet, but there has to be some point where somebody's asking the question. It's like, does he actually care about his own people?
He only cares about himself. I think he's a narcissist like Trump, to be honest with you.
God,
Certainly seems that way.
seems that way. And again, I hate this topic.
Yeah.
I hate that we have to talk about it in any way,
Because
shape,
no
or
matter
form.
what we do, we're going to be.
Yes, but
Somebody's
you have
going
to
hate
talk
us.
about it. You have to talk about it because wrong is wrong is wrong. But I hate that we have to talk about it. I hate that something that's going on in another part of the world has to so dominate our politics here that we can't just talk about our own shit. Ugh. But you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. It's the same thing with Russia and Ukraine. You have to talk about it. If you're not going to respect sovereign borders, we've got nothing. We have to at least agree on that. And again, it's like you got Putin that doesn't want resolution in any way, shape, or form. Clearly doesn't seem to care about his people because the economic impacts on Russia, what's going on, is really being felt by the people in Russia. He's okay with them starving if he gets to still keep on prosecuting this war. I don't get it, man. I don't understand both these men.
No.
I mean, I understand both these men. I understand that the primary objective is remaining in their positions. And everything must be sacrificed for that purpose. But what kind of life is it? I mean, we saw during COVID, right? Putin that super long table, and everybody has to verify everything, and he's completely paranoid that even like somebody from the inside, like that's not a life. You're not really getting to enjoy the spoils that you've stolen over the last 20 years because you're constantly looking over your shoulder. I don't see what the gain is here for either of these people.
I don't either.
So it's like they're so obsessed with whatever that objective is. It's like nothing else matters. It's like I don't care how many layers of security I have to make sure I have around me so that I don't get stabbed or something like that by somebody from within my own cabinet or poisoned or something like this. But I'm just going to put my head down and keep going. It's like Netanyahu. It's like even if he wants to extricate himself out of it like this, there's a whole bunch of people in his own party that are ready to take him down if he makes like even one minimum type of concession.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're afraid of your own cabinet. I was like, you might actually be safer in jail.
Well, you should
Right?
be afforded protections in jail. I mean, Epstein wasn't, but then again, too many powerful people he has dirt on, and they had to silence him. So,
I
yeah,
don't. I don't understand. My mind doesn't work this way, so I do not understand the evil of men. I just
no,
don't. I can't wrap my hand around it. All I know is that this is not how you make friends. This is not how you convince people. This is not. There's there's zero positive to be gained from this, and everything bad. It's just a dumb, dumb, dumb move. If anybody on that boat is hurt in any way, it's it's already an international incident of huge proportions, but it just escalates. And I mean, had they detained them at all, it seems that the smart thing would have been to do is to bring them somewhere and then put them on a plane and send them back right away.
well, this is from the United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner. The people of Gaza have the right to receive aid through their own territorial waters,
Yes.
even under occupation, and the coalition ship has the right to free passage in international waters to reach the people of Gaza. Israel must not interfere with its freedom of navigation, long recognized under international law.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot at play here.
Oh God. I'm so tired of these men because they're mostly men. Says the law is what I say it is. Truth is what I say it is. It's like it's not. It's not. I just don't understand. I don't understand that, and I don't understand our inability globally to rein in people who just refuse to be bound by law.
Mhm.
I understand that there are overall global implications that it will get messy, it will be dirty, and will be complicated. But at some point, you got to do the thing, man.
How this plays out in the long run, I have no idea.
Allyship goes both ways.
Mhm.
It's like if if we want to, if as a nation we want to support Israel, shouldn't we be getting something back? Or at least not having our lives been made a nightmare for having done it? Should the person that we are trying to help not be actively trying to make things worse and creating messes for us to clean up and creating situations that cause disruption here at home? I'm, again, specifically about support for the Netanyahu administration, not the people of Israel. I don't understand. I don't even understand what's in it for us anymore at this point.
Mm.
Because it's nothing but problems.
Yeah, and it's
I don't know what the solution is. Because all I'm doing is I'm just looking at this. It's just it's a mess.
I don't have a solution. I don't even have a suggestion. It's other than stop shooting people.
But I mean, there's going to come if this continues. There has to come a time where we say no more.
Well,
We just can't support you anymore.
Yeah.
There has to come a time. I don't know when that moment comes. I don't know how many chances Netanyahu gets, but I mean, there's a lot of people in this country. It's like you've already run out of chances, buddy.
Yeah.
Like we've got no more patience for you because I don't. I lost patience with that man a long time. I lost patience with that man before October 7th.
Oh yeah.
I lost patience with that man before he became prime minister again. So, I mean, I just, anyway, not fun.
No.
As well, kids and cubs, since we're talking about men doing weird stuff. Sorry, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, Mr. Grizzly, but we'll come back to the regular order. We've been seeing what's been going on in the United States and LA.
Yeah, we've got some video here. Here's I gotta highlight this one because this is not a video. This is just a tweet I'm going to highlight. This is very problematic. This is Derek Guy says, it's grotesque and irresponsible for the president's son to joke about mowing down protesters with guns. Everybody rioting until the roof starts speaking Korean. Make rooftop Koreans great again. That was the LA riots after Rodney King. This is the son of the president of the United States. And then we have this reporter from Australia on the streets. I don't know if you've seen this. It's a short clip. It's 10 seconds.
Rubber bullets of protesters moving them on through the heart of LA. You just shot the rubber bullets.
Shot her with a rubber bullet. And somebody says, well, she shouldn't have been there. I'm like, he looked directly at her and aimed and fired, knowing full well that she was a reporter. It was done with intent. Jack-booted thugs. Tell me it is. Tell me anything different. Tell me it isn't that, because you can't. Christine Ohm's tweet about how if President Biden sends in the National Guard, this is the end of states' rights and blah, blah, blah. And what did she do on the weekend? Supported Trump sending in the National Guard. Look, when you do it, it's bad, but when we do it, it's good. Hypocrites of the highest order, every single last one of them.
I don't understand.
It's Nazi Germany all over again. It's 1929 Germany all over again. And if you cannot draw the parallel or see what's taking place, you either don't want to or you choose not to.
Yeah. So it seems that 300 National Guard troops were deployed in LA on Sunday on orders from the president, following clashes between federal immigration authorities and protesters seeking to block them from carrying out deportations. Some of the troops were stationed outside Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles, one of several sites that have seen confrontations involving hundreds of demonstrators and federal law enforcement in the last 2 days. As the guards stood around a federal complex dressed in tactical gear and carrying long guns, the surrounding streets were largely quiet, with just a handful of protesters gathered on a sidewalk. Of course, if you listen to Donald Trump and the Republicans state it, all of LA is burning and whatnot to send people in emergency. Like, again, lies, propaganda, all that kind of stuff. The move came over objections of Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California, who accused Trump of a, quote, complete overreaction. It marked the first time in decades that a state's National Guard was activated without a request from its governor, according to the Brennan Center for Justice. So we are literally in the situation of step A, provoke the people to the point where they will want to rise up by violating their rights left, right, and center, and then use the rising up as a pretext and excuse to deploy force. And if this continues, then eventually we get to martial law.
Well,
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
Meanwhile, governors keep on trying to seduce us to come back to the United States and saying, hey, we've got deals on a hotel for you.
I'm sorry, bro.
Who wants to come?
Sorry, bro. Yes, and I've seen a lot of the videos. We're not going to share a ton of them here just because it's misery porn. But this statement here from Linda, I did see this video. A video of a kid carrying a skateboard, walking away from the smoke while the stormtroopers fired flashbangs at him. He got across the street and flipped them off. I did see that video. Stephen Miller plan in action. Yes, Cassie, you are correct. And Stephen Miller went on record just the other day of saying,
yes,
federal is the highest law of the land. You have to obey us. I'm like, what? What happened to states' rights? Oh, no, they don't. No. He's sending in the Gestapo. That's all it is.
I'm just so... I don't have words.
No.
And I'm not speechless often.
No, it's just, it's going to continue. It won't change anytime soon. This is what Trump wants. This is what he's going to do. He sent in the troops when they weren't needed, as stated by the governor,
Or
mayor,
wanted.
and the chief of police. He just wants to beat people down. That's all it is. I need a coffee. I'll be right back.
All right. Anyway, pretty down way to start the show, kids and cubs. But there is some better stuff. Tonight, 8 p.m., Oilers back in action after a very tough loss, very exciting match on Friday, but an double overtime, I think, loss it was to the Dallas Stars, sent into overtime with a fantastic goal by the Oilers with fewer than 20 seconds left in the match, but unfortunately did not result in a victory. So the series is tied at 1-1, and the match will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. local time tonight. And on Friday, Kits and Cubs, for our Kits and Cubs here who happen to be Muslim, some communities in Canada celebrated Eid al-Adha. It's a sacred day in the Islamic calendar that celebrates the conclusion of the annual pilgrimage to Mecca known as the Hajj. It is observed with morning prayers, social and family gatherings, festive meals, and charitable donations to the most vulnerable people in our society. The spirit of Eid al-Adha, meaning the feast of sacrifice or greater Eid, is one of happiness and gratitude. Yet it comes at a time of ongoing war and conflict, bringing fear and anxiety to Canadians with loved ones in Gaza, the West Bank, Sudan, and many other regions. Canada remains committed to supporting the ceasefire efforts in Gaza, as well as the urgent, safe, and unimpeded access to humanitarian aid for civilians. That's a statement from the Government of Canada here on that one. This year, the holiday also coincides with the 4th anniversary of the tragic terrorist attack on a Canadian Muslim family killed in London, Ontario on June 6, 2021. Fondly remembered as, quote, our London family, their lives were taken simply because they were Muslim in a horrifying act of Islamophobia. Again, a statement from, I believe this is Minister Guilbeault here on behalf of the government. Our government stands with the community in London, with all those affected by this tragedy, and with all victims of Islamophobia and every form of hatred. We are committed to ensuring that all Canadians feel safe and protected in their communities. This includes providing at-risk communities with access to financial support to protect their gathering spaces and to launch local initiatives that bring Canadians together and combat racism. We also continue to work with Canada's Special Representative on combating Islamophobia, Amira El-Gawabi, to fight Islamophobia, including with the Canadian Guide on Understanding and Combating Islamophobia for a More Inclusive Canada. So even though the day here in Canada happened to coincide with a day of mourning, belated Eid Mubarak to all those who had celebrated. I hope that your feasts were indeed joyous and festive, and that you were surrounded by love and laughter and good times with family and friends.
Well, so I'm just looking at some of the comments here regarding the World Cup, and saying, people saying it's not going to happen because the majority of the games are going to be played in the U.S. Well, I don't know that it won't happen, but I have heard talk of FIFA looking at moving more games to Mexico and Canada and migrating certain teams who are technically, their nation is not allowed to travel to the U.S.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of players that simply just don't want to go. They're like, if we're playing in Canada or Mexico, we're okay, but we don't want to go to the U.S. So it's entirely plausible and possible that the amount of games in the U.S. get reduced significantly. Now, that being said, does that mean we have to start opening up new places to host in Canada? And if so, are we on the hook for that financially? Because Edmonton had looked at hosting a couple of games. Then they saw how much money it was going to cost the city, and they're like, no, we're out. We're out. So you could theoretically put games in Edmonton, Calgary, Ottawa, Hamilton, Montreal, but due to the costs levied upon the city to host those games, FIFA doesn't give you any money.
Right.
So it's like millions and millions of tax dollars to host an event for millionaires and billionaires.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not subsidizing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going to take place, but I don't want to subsidize that. Shit, I'm broke. I don't want to subsidize that.
Right. So they're asking about the World Cup and, of course, asking about the Olympics as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. LA Olympics in 3 years.
Yeah. So last week, President of the United States signed an order which restricted the nationals of Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Congo Brazzaville, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen from entering the United States, and nationals from 7 other countries, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela, are facing partial travel restrictions. Now, of course, they're saying this, of course, doesn't apply to the World Cup players. Yeah.
Do you think any of those players are comfortable with that?
Yeah. I don't think they much care. Now, I don't know if any of these nations have teams that have qualified. I haven't cross-referenced that. But for those who do, right? See, according to this article from the BBC here, there are a number of people from affected countries who may still be able to enter to U.S. due to a number of exceptions. The order allegedly does not apply to lawful permanent U.S. residents, their immediate family members who hold immigrant visas, U.S. government employees with special immigrant visas, adoptions, dual nationals when the individual is not traveling on a passport from one of the affected countries. So if you're a Canadian citizen who happens to be dual national of any one of these countries, travel on your Canadian passport. Afghan nationals holding special immigrant visas, holders of immigrant visas for ethnic and religious minorities facing persecution in Iran, foreign nationals traveling with certain non-immigrant visas, athletes, their teams, including coaches and supporting staff, and their immediate family when traveling for major sporting events such as the Men's Football World Cup in 2026 and the Summer 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. In addition, the U.S. Secretary of State may grant exemptions to individuals on a case-by-case basis if, quote, the individual would serve as a United States national interest. So, yeah. And I'm not sure that this will impress anyone. Now, this apparently was provoked by an attack in Boulder, Colorado that, quote, according to the Trump administration, underscored the extreme dangers posed by foreign nationals who had not been, quote, properly vetted. 12 people were injured in Colorado on June 1st when a man attacked a group gathering in support of Israeli hostages. The FBI called it a suspected terror attack and said the suspect had used a makeshift flamethrower, Molotov cocktails, and other incendiary devices. Now, here's the kicker. The man accused of carrying out the attack was identified as an Egyptian national, but Egypt has not been included on the list of banned countries. So, we know it's not about what he says it's about.
Of course not.
Right.
And again, well, you folks can come in. You really think they want to? I don't think so. And so many of them are just like, look, I'm a football player. I don't want to get involved in this political crap, but I also don't want to go to a country where my fellow countrymen are detained and deported simply for existing. And that is what is happening.
Yeah. And again, in this whole vein of things that were not about the things, are fentanyl tariffs. Well, it seems that Trump pardoned one of the biggest fentanyl dealers in history.
Yes, I saw that.
Sentenced to life. And Trump pardoned him. So those tariffs were never about the fentanyl.
Well, he pardoned him, and then what did he do?
Tell us. Sorry.
You didn't know? He gave him a very important government job.
Oh, lovely.
I can't even make this up. I read this. I'm like, what? So I checked a few different sources, and yeah, it's legit. It's legit. It's just the most unbelievable thing I can think of. Sticking with sports, I wanted to share a 36-second clip of the glorious Summer McIntosh doing what she gloriously does in the pool.
We'll get dinged for that.
Look at how far ahead she is in the 400 meter. New world record.
Yep. I believe that was the 400 free.
Yeah, in the 400, yeah.
There we go, 3:54:18.
That footage was from our friend Devin. You notice there's no sports logos or anything on that. I believe that was handheld cam footage from his phone.
Hopefully,
so
yeah.
I think we're going to be okay. If not, we'll just take it down later. It's no big deal.
And she just set a Canadian record in the 800 as well. So, yeah. And of course, as we mentioned before, she's now going to be working with Michael Phelps' coach.
Yeah, that I think that's going to work out well.
Yeah, because the best attracts the best, of course.
Yes.
Right. So it seems that in the next Olympics, she is going to be trying to do the same thing, get the 5 individual gold, and then a whole bunch in relays and see what happens there. But she has to try to decide what her 5th event is going to be, whether or not it will be the 800 meter or like the 200 back or something like this. But it seems that she has been actually doing more long distance swim training. So people are kind of thinking that will be the 800. Of course, that always depends on the schedule of the events, right? When the Olympics come in the order that they're in, that they'll pick. But yeah, apparently she's going to go for it. See if that she can do it. Michael Phelps did it on the men's side, and she's going to see if she can do it on the women's side.
I think she can pull it off.
She can pull it off.
She's a generational athlete, as
Yeah.
I've said before. I read that, and somebody says she is a generational athlete like Michael Phelps or Simone Biles.
Yeah, she has the ability to pull it off. Of course, everything depends context, situation, I guess, and on any given day, stuff can happen. But she definitely, if you were going to tap one swimmer in the world on the shoulder, say who could do it again, it would be
It's
her.
Yeah. You got to remember,
Right?
isn't she just turning 19?
Something like that. I know, it's ridiculous.
She hasn't even peaked yet.
It's ridiculous how good she is.
Well, I mean, her mom was an Olympic swimmer. Her father was an athlete as well. So it's in the cards. Her sister's a figure skater. So
Yep.
some are setting all the records in the pool. Canadians in water, whether it's frozen, powdered, or swimmable, we kick ass when it comes to that.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, very happy for her. I mean, she's putting in the work. She's getting the rewards, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. A little bit of housekeeping stuff, federal-wise. The government introduced new legislation to build a stronger, more competitive, and more resilient Canadian economy. The One Canadian Economy Act was tabled for first reading, I believe, on Friday.
Mhm.
It's intended to remove federal barriers to internal trade and labor mobility and advance nation-building projects crucial for driving Canadian productivity, growth, energy security, and economic competitiveness. The bill seeks to get projects in the national interest built by focusing on a small number of executable projects and shifting the focus of federal reviews to whether to build these projects to how to best advance them. The new legislation would streamline multiple decisions points for federal approval and minimize uncertainty for proponents. The goal is to send a clear signal early to build investor confidence and get projects to investment and construction faster. Speaking to reporters after the bill was tabled, Prime Minister Carney called it, quote, a top priority for this government, adding, quote, we will do everything to get it passed before the summer, and if Parliament needs to sit longer, it should sit longer in order to get it passed. That's what Canadians expect. So it seems that Prime Minister Carney is saying the same thing that the Conservatives usually say, we're prepared to sit longer, except the Conservatives never followed through. Prime Minister Carney, in this instance, given that there's only about 2 more weeks of sitting and there's a certain number of opposition days that need to be held, probably might have to extend seating if he really does want to get this passed. And as we keep on saying, while you're at it, you might want to take another look at that one borders bill and make some changes to that. I'm not sure if that one he's really interested in getting it passed before July 1st, but at least wanted to get it tabled before the G7 so that he could at least point to the United States and say, listen, we've got something introduced. But that one, I assume, would probably take much more time and shouldn't be rushed. But this one, yeah, this one probably could. Also widely believed to be on Carney's pre-summer priority list, this is according to iPolitics, an omnibus bill to fulfill several core campaign promises, including dropping the marginal tax rate on the lowest income bracket by 1% and providing a temporary GST new housing rebate for first-time homebuyers, and permanently eliminating the consumer carbon price, which began working its way through second reading on Friday. So all of that is going through the House right now, and hope he wants that passed for July 1st as well. Other interesting news, Sherry Romando, who's the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of National Defence, and on behalf of the Minister of Industry and Minister responsible for the Canadian Space Agency, which would be Melanie Joly, joined the heads of the Canadian and European Space Agencies, President Lisa Campbell and the Director General of the European Space Agency, Dr. Joseph Aschenbacher, to sign a joint statement reaffirming Canada and Europe's nearly 50-year partnership. Canada's unique status as the European Space Agency's only non-European cooperating state gives Canadian companies privileged access to European space market. Every dollar awarded to Canadian companies through European Space Agent contracts generates nearly $3 in return, benefiting Canadian businesses and injecting value into the Canadian economy. This collaboration helps Canada's space sector build long-term relationships with the European space community and contributes to strengthening innovation, competitiveness, and technological capabilities. It has propelled numerous Canadian organizations to the forefront of their fields, positioning Canadian expertise at the heart of bold international space missions, according again to the government of Canada. So, interesting deal here. More rapprochement between Canada and Europe, particularly on issues of contracts and that type of stuff, where again, maybe more opportunities eventually for Canadian steel and aluminum to be used. And as we mentioned, I believe in the previous show, Bill C3, which is the citizenship by descent legislation, has been introduced. It's legislation that allows Canadian citizens, people who have Canadian citizenship but who are not born in Canada, who happen to have children while they're away from Canada, for their children to also be declared as Canadian citizens, which is something that existed before. Stephen Harper changed it when he was Prime Minister, and we are setting things right again. So those things have been happening. Also, there are contract talks that have broken down between Via Rail and the union that represents 2,500 workers who will be in a legal strike position as of June 22nd. Unifor is accusing management of not taking employees' concerns seriously, not fixing problems, and not making any concessions whatsoever. Via employees voted 97% for a strike mandate at the end of May and are currently on a 21-day cooling off period. And it seems that talks with the company are supposed to resume on June 17th. And of course, as you know, there's also some labor disruption affecting 5,500 Canada Post workers going on, and that has not been resolved either.
And the union representing 10,400 Air Canada flight attendants, and the company will soon sit down with a conciliator.
Okay.
Conciliator. Thank you. I'm having a trouble with that one today.
Yeah,
to
that's
try to
good.
work out a new contract, but if they fail, the airline could be hit with a strike in mid-August. CUPE, which represents the flight attendants, filed for conciliation last week after contract talks broke down. The contract between Air Canada and CUPE members, which had been effective for 10 years, expired in March. And we talked about this last March.
Yes.
I was speaking with a young woman the other day whose mother is a flight attendant for Air Canada, so she will remain anonymous. And she, confirmed what we talked about, how they do not get paid until they're in the air.
Yep.
Which is bullshit.
Yep.
Especially if you're flying out of Pearson, because you rarely take off on time. So sometimes you sit on the tarmac for 45 minutes and they're not getting paid. And yet they've been there, got you seated. They've been working, been doing their jobs. The moment they walk through that gate, down the jetway and onto the aircraft, they should start getting paid.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because they're working. They're working. Now, the union is partly to blame for this. They signed off on this contract 10 years ago. So I hold CUPE equally as responsible for this. You never should have signed that contract. I mean, come on. Was that supposed to be a bargaining chip in the future? Maybe. I don't know. But how many hours have been stolen? That's wage theft. Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
It's wage theft. I don't care how you want to slice it. That's exactly what it is. And if you figure there's 10,400 Air Canada flight attendants. Let's say the average week, 6,000 are working. And each one of them has worked for 60 minutes. And I'm being really conservative. 60 minutes in the course of a week. 6,000 hours in a week of free labor for Air Canada. And again, those are hyper-conservative numbers. Hyper-conservative numbers. Because you know damn well some flights are delayed for 45 minutes on the tarmac, and that's after people have boarded. And boarding a bigger aircraft doesn't happen in 15 minutes.
No.
As a matter of fact, my last flight to Calgary in December, I was flying with Porter. I don't know what their contract is. We were boarding the flight, and there was an issue, and we had to And I was just standing in the jetway waiting to get on the aircraft. And they said, no, there's an issue. We have to take everybody off. The people that were already seated had to get off the aircraft. They had to do something. It was like a 3-hour delay. So think about that. If you were working for Air Canada, you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. So we have possible labor disruptions coming in postal services, which is an essential service,
Mhm.
and transportation, plane and train, which is an essential service. Which, here's the thing, the NDP move from last week or the last few weeks, right, with regard to the budget, and then saying that they're going to vote down, the reply to the address of the speech from the throne. Those were wasted opportunities. This is the type of stuff that's in the NDP's wheelhouse.
Mhm.
If they were going to stand and make a stand and say, we have to stand against the government on this because the government is probably going to be in a situation where they're going to have to order some people back to work at some point because the disruption to the economy will be deemed to be too great. And there is an issue for the NDP to jump all over, right? But what they did with those last two things was completely inexplicable. So you don't have to swing at every pitch.
No.
It's a 4-year term. There's going to be plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? This is a legitimate issue on which the NDP can make a distinction, particularly if they're talking about. The whole reason was like there was nothing in the speech for Throne about workers' rights. You've got 3 subjects of labor unrest that are all going to deal with workers' rights. Right now, you didn't have to blow your capital showing that you're an unserious party by saying that you wanted to make a vote that could legitimately lead to the falling of the government immediately after it had been elected, and showing blatant disregard for the will of the people. So you knew that there were these labor issues coming up.
Mhm.
There seems to be just a general lack of discernment and judiciousness.
Well, the NDP is not the party I once knew it to be.
Yes. But and this is not strictly NDP. I'm just talking to everyone. There seems to
Yeah.
be a lack of judiciousness, like this seeming feeling that you need to swing at every single damn pitch.
Yeah.
And make a statement. You need to have an opinion on absolutely everything. You need to take a stand on absolutely everything. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Well,
You can
and
wait for a pitch to be like really across the plate and just
that's the
swing
thing
at it.
you and I have talked about many times in this program. We don't have an opinion on everything. And I don't have to have an opinion on everything. And someone, well, what's your thoughts on this? I don't have any. Why not? Because I don't think about it. Some things I don't bother to get involved in the mire of because I don't have the knowledge, the expertise, the experience, the lived experience to make a fair and balanced comment. So some things I just steer clear of and stay out of because I have the right to do that. Somebody says, oh, that's being weak. Is it? Is it? Or is it preserving my own mental health?
Triage. You can't care about everything. And you certainly can't care about everything with the amount that the things that people say they care about need to be cared about.
Well, you'd lose your faculties.
Right. Especially and again, there's caring about something because,
Mhm.
oh my God, isn't it terrible? And then there's caring about something because you actually want it resolved. Right. And those are 2 different types of caring. If you're focused on going tisk tisk and assigning blame for the problem, that's one type of caring. If you're actually caring about the problem enough to want to resolve it, the things that come out of your mouth are different.
Mm,
Right.
very true.
So, and remember, there has to be room for both activism, which often has a lot of naming and shaming and that type of stuff and public humiliation and things like that to make people look bad. But there's the advocacy side, which works within the system.
Mhm.
And you need both if you want to get to a solution. So people care more about the cause and what the problem is. I don't care how you solve it, just solve it. Do it now. Right? That's more on the activism side. We're going to embarrass you. We're going to punch down on you. We're going to do all this stuff until you do the right thing. We're going to embarrass you. We're going to make it difficult for you. to save face in any way, shape, or form. But the advocacy side is, okay, now that you've been embarrassed enough that you want to move, how do we work within the system to break those changes?
Mm.
Right? You need both. But there's a lot of, just like there are people, as Mr. Greeley said, that just want to watch the world burn, there are a lot of people who just want to point fingers and say bad,
And never do
but
it.
don't actually want to work on the solution.
Well, they call that what? Slacktivism?
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, slacktivism.
Okay.
You're not actually being an activist. You're just, ooh, that's bad. We should do something.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
very smart.
Yes, there's that. There's that. But I mean, there are people that show up to protest and all that kind of stuff as well. Because they'll get involved in the game, but they're not interested in the solution.
No.
And getting to solution, it's validating the cause and validating the methods and the tactics and the strategies that are used to bring attention to the cause, but not actually focused on the solutions, because the solutions are often messy and involve compromises. And then, there's a lot of people, it's like, if you make one compromise, it goes, wow, you've sold out. Well, you're not going to achieve a solution to an intractable problem for people who claim, well, the solution is to go like 100% on the side of one. One person must win entirely and the other side must lose entirely. In international relations, that's not going to happen. So that's not going to work for anyone. Right?
Sorry, no, yeah. No.
It sucks to say it, because morally, in the battle of good versus evil, like this, you want good to get 100% of the victory and evil to get 100% of the defeat.
Yeah.
In the real world, that doesn't happen, though. Very rarely.
Well, and then, of course, we have Danielle Smith in Alberta, who yesterday, in a conversation about carbon capture and oil production, Danielle Smith said, Canada has the lowest living standards in the world. We're falling behind all the OECD countries in productivity growth and standard of living growth.
Yeah.
There is not a word of that is true.
No.
Is our productivity on the wane? Yes, our productivity should be growing, and it has been shrinking. That is a fact. But everything else she said is absolute garbage. Just trying to add fuel to the Alberta separation fire is all that is. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Nothing more. Because everything is bullshit.
Yeah, we'll have something about that a little later on the show there. Yeah.
Well, you'll be able to pick up on that because I got to take off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But like, seriously, that's right up there with like, no group in history has been more oppressed than this is the second.
Vaccinated.
Yeah.
Really?
This is the second type of statement like that. Let me put it this way. In normal times, the leader of a political jurisdiction going on to a media show with cameras, lights, sound, all of it, and stand there and say with supreme smug confidence and assuredness, we have the worst living standards in the world.
The lowest living standards.
Yes. Uganda,
Haiti.
We have the lowest standards in the world, with a straight face and expect to be believed, should raise instant questions about either that person's competence or mental health.
You think? I mean,
that's the type of statement that would normally get a caucus to turn around and say, you know what? We need to get rid of this person. Their time's up. And now this is the second time at least. Now she makes a whole bunch of outlandish statements, but this type of outlandish statement, this is the second one that I know of. And she just says them and nobody wonders. Is she fucking high?
Well, one would think. Are you drinking the bong water? Because holy crap, lady.
Like, how do you make a statement like that and then get to go on your merry way like nothing happened? And nobody in your own party stops you. Nobody turns around and says, wait a minute, this is concerning. It is so freaking, it's such a loony, unrealistic, dumb statement that is laughably false. but it's laughably false to the point of being disconcerting. Nobody seems to be worried that the Premier of Alberta knowingly and intentionally goes onto a media program and makes a statement like that and expects everybody to accept it as a fact.
This is the thing. Like, excuse me, what? Lady, are you what
Your
is wrong
brain,
with you
it's
to make
broke.
such a statement?
I mean, I do not. A statement like that should provoke an immediate emergency meeting. That we have a problem here. And that is not going to happen. I'm just, my God. Listen, I know that we're trying not to use the word crazy irresponsibly, particularly, since, we try to focus on mental health. I do not know what the word is to describe this type of dynamic.
Insane.
This is not normal.
No.
This is not normal. This is very concerning. This should provoke questions. I do not understand why the top headline is Danielle Smith okay?
Well, and here's the clip. Here's the clip. You got to see this to believe it.
Yeah, I guess I'm just countering the idea that things are destitute or that nothing is being developed or production is extremely capped. Like, the numbers bear out a different story. They're not perhaps as high as you and other people in the province or maybe even across the country want to see, but they're not going down.
Actually, we've got the lowest living standards in the world. Like, we're falling behind all the OECD countries in productivity growth and standard of living growth. And that's because these are the kind of projects that consistently fail and do not get built. So we can't sugarcoat that. That is a reality. If we want to be a rich country and we want to be able to keep up with our neighbors and growth, we've got to build things. We've got to dig things out of the ground. We've got to get products to market. We can't keep on borrowing and and watching the kind of situation that we've seen over the last 10 years develop. That is not what Albertans want. It's not what Canadians want. And so I think there needs to be a complete attitude adjustment about all of these projects because we've lost a lot of opportunity across the board, across the country.
The look on Vashi's face, it's like, lady, are you out of your fucking mind?
But here's the point: is that was near the end of the interview, so it's like, okay, thank you, like this. It's like, no, don't stop the interview.
No.
Don't go to commercial now.
No.
Stop that. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Like, lady, the lowest standards in the OECD.
I mean, as soon as she said that, why wasn't she cut off?
I would have said, whoa.
Let's unpack that statement. I'm just
the lowest living standards in the world.
Our journalists are too damn deferential.
Well, yes.
Okay, but I'm sorry, but something's not right up here.
No, clearly. The lowest, we have the lowest living standards in the world. We're falling behind all the OECD countries in productivity growth and standard of living growth.
The OECD countries are not the world.
No.
Can we please stop electing and elevating stupid?
Please. Please, like
painfully stupid, foolishly stupid, willfully stupid.
Willfully lying. She's telling the separatists what they want to hear. That's all she's doing is fanning the flames of the Wexiters. Only for them to be disappointed when it doesn't happen.
Here's the thing. Danielle Smith, at this exact same time, is saying, Canada, you live off us. We keep you afloat. But we have the lowest living standards in the world. How is it possible for you to keep a country of 42 million people afloat if you have the lowest living standards in the world?
Yeah.
We get paid more than anybody else in the country, but we have the lowest living standards in the world. It's just absurd on its
Meanwhile-
face. It should have you laughed out of the room.
Meanwhile, driving around in a $150,000 pickup truck, dragging behind you 2 Sea-Doos and and a side-by-side. Uh-huh. Yeah, lowest living standards in the world. Uh-huh.
This woman, I just can't.
I just can't. Yeah, no, exactly.
She contributes absolutely nothing positive and nothing of worth to any discussion she's involved in.
I mean, that one alone should be headline news. That should be all over the headlines right now.
Yes.
Everybody's saying this is a complete flat-out fabrication. It's a lie. This is not a fact. Your premier of Alberta is lying directly to your face and doing it with a straight face.
And also, should the premier of Alberta still be the premier of Alberta if this is what she truly actually believes? Because how does this impact policy and governance?
Well, clearly she needs to seek therapy if she actually believes that, because there's not a metric to back it up. Is our productivity down? Yes.
Yeah, but not oil.
But that's the only thing. It's not, we're not, yeah.
It's record pumping and record profits and record everything.
The lowest living standards in the world. Well, I was just being hyperbolic. Lady, in your position, you cannot be hyperbolic.
You can't afford to be. That's not your job.
You're not a talking head as a pundit on a panel. You're the premier. You cannot make a statement like that.
Again, you want to attract international business for your pipeline, and now there's video of you all around the world saying we have the lowest living standards in the world. Who's going to want to fucking invest there?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Come on, woman. Oh.
And and right now, a lot of companies that were looking to invest in Alberta are backing out because of the talk of separation. I'm like, you do realize just putting a spotlight on a fringe element in the national media damages the province.
Yeah.
Because companies will just say, yeah, we're backing out. We're not going to do this.
And she's also suggesting, doing the nice, nasty thing, that Premier David Eby might not be on Team Canada. Right? But in the backhanded way, I'm saying that I'm going to convince David Eby of a new pipeline. And good luck with that, sister. Because I know that this is good for the country. I know that he's on Team Canada, and I can't imagine in the end that if we meet the issues that have been raised by British Columbia, that he would go off Team Canada. That doesn't seem to be the type of person that David Eby is. Yeah. Meanwhile, back in Edmonton, deadbeat Danny, disloyal Danielle, announced that the government of Alberta will now be selling American booze again in Alberta liquor stores. She leaves Team Canada, and then she insinuates, well, oh my God, it's like, David Eby, I mean, I'm sure he's on Team Canada. He certainly wouldn't want to object to a project that I want, because if he did that, then that would make it enough that he's not on Team Canada. As she abandons us. And then, needing more distraction from that, because I'm sure she got a lot of angry phone calls and emails when everybody found out, oh yeah, sorry, we're leaving Team Canada. Yeah, sure, American alcohol, come back to our stores, when nobody else is doing that.
No, only Alberta.
Oh, well, let's go on TV and say, Alberta has the worst living standards in the world.
Mm-hmm.
To get them stop talking about the fact that I just betrayed the country.
Smoke and mirrors with this woman. But why is she not being held to task for this? Like, where's the once brave media companies in this country that would have immediately jumped on her for that?
Yep. In a few days, just in the space of a few days, betrayed us with the alcohol thing, then tried to shift blame onto David Eby for not being on Team Canada when it's really her, and then trying to deflect from everything by saying, hey, we have the lowest living standards. Like, come on.
This was a lady who said smoking wasn't bad for you. And that cancer, I think, was a choice. If memory serves, if memory
Yes.
serves, I
Yes,
could
yes.
be wrong.
Stage 4 cancer.
Yeah,
Just don't get cancer.
just don't get it. Yeah.
But if you do, don't get stage 4. Simple, right?
Yes, yeah, that's people always make that choice to.
Just
I do have to go.
yes.
I have a meeting at 10 I have to attend, and got to take my doggy out. So thanks for joining us, everybody, on this Monday. I will be doing an ASMR at 9 p.m. this evening. A few things I'm going to talk about, and some good things, and some, maybe not so good things. But I got a few things to say this evening. So if you're able to join at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I should say, because we are on Daylight Time right now, I will be live at 9 p.m. And if you can't make it, no worries. You can watch it on the replay eventually, because it will be there for you to see whenever you like. Until such time as I see you again, you take care. Have yourself a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, my friend. See you tomorrow. Oh, man. I tell you, these people are wearing out my curls. They're wearing out my curls. Oh, my God. It's exhausting, isn't it? Just the sheer amount of utter depravity and stupidity that is being put on our daily plate. But that's the goal, isn't it? To exhaust us, to get us to leave the public square, to get us to say, it's too much. I'm just going to focus on my barbecue and the game. And let the world do what it will do. It's just the level of BS and gaslighting and, again, sheer depravity that we are forced to sift through to get through a day, if we're the type of people who just don't want to check out completely. It's exhausting. It's completely exhausting. All right. As you know, of course, we also have wildfires going on. I don't have the most up-to-date information, but over the course of the past few days, all the residents of Pukatawagan First Nation were evacuated at some point last week. Only about a few firefighters and people who were caring for pets and security, taking care of security, remained. Residents of Pimachikamak have also been evacuated to Hamilton. Last week we talked about some people being evacuated to the Niagara Falls region. And the Satkeng First Nation is hosting more than 300 people from the Tatasquiac Cree Nation as well. But that's a First Nation community that's up north, and there are some fires still far enough away so that they could be a zone of evacuation, but still, concerning that they might have to evacuate at some point down the road, down the line too. The wildfires are also affecting oil production. 7% of all Canadian oil production has been cut, I think, as of some point this weekend. That's about 350,000 barrels of oil per day, due to the out-of-control wildfires that are within 10 kilometers of major oil sands facilities. A lot of the reasons why some of these have closed down, even though the fires are still that distance away, is because there's a lot of lead time that's required to close these types of facilities down, because you definitely don't want to be in an oil exploitation site when there's a fire in it, right? So Cenovus shut down its Christina Lake Wilson site on May 29th, and that affects 238,000 barrels per day. MEG Energy has 70,000 barrels per day that are offline and they're not coming back online yet because there's been a power cut. And Canadian Natural Resources have 36,500 barrels per day from its Jackfish 1 site that are being affected as of the time of the report. Of course, on the show on Friday, a lot of you were mentioning how smoky your areas were. And yes, there are air quality concerns. According to Jill Baumgartner from the McGill Center for Climate Change and Health, the particles that you breathe can get into your lungs and bloodstream, and these risks are compounded over time with repeated exposures. According to Rashini Cassie, an air quality and health specialist at Air Canada, to minimize risks, one should remain in their home with all windows closed and with a method to filter the finer particles from the smoke. and using an N95 mask when going out, for example. Health Canada also advises to keep monitoring the air quality index online to pick the most advantageous times to be out if one does need to go out. Canada, of course, is the world's fourth largest producer of oil. Minister Eleanor Olszewski has stated, quote, being a strong Canada means helping each other. So today, and this was on Friday, and I think we mentioned this on our show, I'm announcing that the Government of Canada is matching donations to the Canadian Red Cross to support wildfire relief and disaster recovery efforts for appeals that are taking place in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. This initiative will further be matched by the province of Saskatchewan and the province of Manitoba. So with regard to Saskatchewan, donation matching will be open for 30 days, retroactive to when each appeal was first opened. So Saskatchewan, I believe, opened on Manitoba, I think, opened on May 28th. And yes, May 28th. And that will continue. And with regard to Saskatchewan, the provincial government had will match donations up to $15 million. Sorry, no, the government of Manitoba, I think, will match donations up to $15 million. The government of Saskatchewan immediately provided $15 million to the Canadian Red Cross to work with the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency to support wildfire evacuees. Donation matching in Saskatchewan will also be open for 30 days, retroactive to when the appeal first opened on May 30th. So May 28th for Manitoba and May 30th for Saskatchewan. The funds raised will be used to assist those impacted by the wildfires in Saskatchewan, including those who have evacuated their homes. Canadians wishing to make a financial donation to help those impacted by wildfires in Saskatchewan can do so at www.redcross.ca or by calling 1-800-418-1111. I have a feeling that that number would work as well for donation. Website would work for donations to Manitoba. And on Sunday, the Prime Minister convened once again the incident response group with ministers and senior officials to address the ongoing wildfire situation that's affecting many parts of the country. So hopefully we'll have more information. I've seen further articles out there about what you can do specifically to help with those finer particles. And hopefully I'll be able to have more news you can use with regard to that on the show tomorrow. All right. As you know, kids and cubs, if we're talking about big news, well, there's a G7 meeting happening in Canada soon. Sunday, June 15th to June 17th will be the days. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, has been invited. She still has not declared a commitment to come or not, so we're still waiting there. Over the course of the weekend, the prime minister announced what his priorities were for the meeting. He says that the priorities will be anchored in building stronger economies, and Canada will seek agreements and coordinated action on three core missions. The first one being protecting our communities and the world. So this would involve discussions about strengthening peace and security, countering foreign interference and transnational crime, and improving joint responses to wildfires. The second one, building energy security and accelerating the digital transition, and conversations on fortifying critical mineral supply chains and using artificial intelligence and quantum to unleash economic growth will be on hand. And then the third core mission, securing the partnerships of the future, and discussions will center around catalyzing enormous private investments to build stronger infrastructure, create higher paying jobs, and open dynamic markets where businesses can compete and succeed. There will be other discussions, including a just and lasting peace for Ukraine and other areas of conflict around the world, a forward-looking agenda that engages partners beyond the G7, and recognizing that our long-term security and prosperity will depend on building coalitions with reliable partners with common values. The Prime Minister also spoke with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, and the leaders discussed the upcoming G7 and NATO summits, transatlantic security, and supporting Ukraine in its self-defense. Prime Minister Carney affirmed the new government's mandate to increase defense spending and assert Canada's sovereignty, including as part of the NATO alliance. The ambassador of the United States, once again, came out and made some comments as we're keeping our eye on this defense stuff. Again, sir, you can kindly fuck off. Sorry. Just, again, can we please get a new ambassador? One that maybe is tethered to somehow to reality and maybe has the ear of the president. Would like to send this one back. Thank you. The Prime Minister and the Secretary of General will meet again at the upcoming G7 summit in Kananaskis, so I guess they will be there. And on Friday, and this is the one that has been getting some tongues wagging, it seems that Prime Minister Carney spoke to the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. The two leaders discussed the long-standing relationship between Canada and India, including deep people-to-people ties and significant commercial links. Importantly, there was an agreement to continued law enforcement dialogue and discussions addressing security concerns. So the second part is interesting, but given that we do not seem to have arrived at any decisions with regard to those concerns, a lot of people are wondering if it was premature to invite Modi. But yes, he has been invited, and Modi has reportedly accepted. According to CBC's Benjamin Lopez-Steven, that made it such that the Prime Minister came under fire when he announced that Modi would be coming just months after the RCMP accused his government of acts of murder, extortion, and coercion. The Prime Minister defended the move and said on Friday that India and Canada, quote, have now agreed importantly to continue law enforcement dialogue. So there's been some progress on that. Yes, okay, you've agreed to continue dialogue. You haven't actually agreed that the government of India would stop the alleged murder, extortion, and coercion. This came after, of course, the Sikh Federation of Canada called the invitation a grave insult, and Liberal MP Sukh Dhaliwal, who represents the Surrey riding where Nijar was shot, that's Hardeep Singh Nijar, was a Canadian activist for Sikh separatism, said that neither he or many of his constituents support Modi. The invitation is also ruffling a few feathers within the Liberal caucus itself. So there's going to be some caucus management to take place here, according to an article in the National Pest. We are so sorry that we have to report from stuff from the National Post, but it is the one that has the most detailed report on it. And this is from Stephanie Taylor. Sukh Dhaliwal, who represents that Surrey, BC riding, says that he's received dozens of calls and more than 100 emails from constituents expressing concern. Quote, they're worried about their safety. They're concerned about the justice in Mr. Nijar's case as well. Dhaliwal said he has heard from other Liberal MPs also expressing concern, but said he would not divulge details to protect their privacy. He says he intends to raise the concerns he has been hearing from constituents with the Prime Minister or members of his team, and will be in Ottawa next week for the ongoing sitting of Parliament. Quote, he's willing to talk, Dhaliwal said of the Prime Minister. Quote, he's willing to listen to his MPs. That's what he has promised, because he has always said that he's interested in the voice from the grassroots, not the message coming from the top to the grassroots. I will certainly raise this with him or his team. A statement from Carney's office in response to questions from the National Post didn't directly address Dhaliwal's concerns, but said, quote, Canada's sovereignty and national security is paramount. Quote, as Prime Minister of the fifth largest economy and world's most populous country, Prime Minister Modi was invited to participate in these critical discussions. So yes, he's the leader of the fifth largest economy in the world, so therefore that's reason enough for him to come, seems to be the answer here. And well, we've agreed that we will keep on talking about security, so that's enough. I personally don't believe that that's enough. But in this case, that's what we're going with. That's the story, and the Prime Minister's sticking to it. The Prime Minister also defended his decision to invite Modi to the G7 at a press conference earlier in the day. He said it was a matter he had discussed with other G7 countries, and given that the group plans to discuss issues ranging from energy security to critical minerals and infrastructure, quote, there are certain countries that should be at the table for those discussions. Carney says that India is central to a number of supply chains and has the fifth largest economy in the world, the largest population, quote, so it makes sense. Modi said in a statement on social media that, quote, India and Canada will work together with renewed vigor, guided by mutual respect and shared interests. I'll believe that when it lasts. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre backed the decision for Modi to attend. Well, that's no surprise, because Conservative Party in India and IDU association and all that kind of stuff, saying that Canada needs to work with India on security and trade. Meanwhile, the World Sikh Organization, which advertised for Sikh Canadians, denounced the decision with its legal counsel, Balpreet Singh, saying it amounts to a, quote, betrayal. Carney declined to say on Friday whether he believed Modi was involved in Nijar's assassination, saying it would be inappropriate for him to comment on the matter given the fact that legal proceedings were underway. But 4 Indian nationals have been charged in his death. Sukh Dhaliwal says he does not support the decision to have Modi in Canada, but said he should offer, quote, a commitment that his government or his agents of India will never ever intervene into the lives of Canadians. India's Prime Minister should also agree, quote, to full cooperation in the investigation into Nijar's death. And as we know, last fall, Canada and India expelled each other's diplomats after it cited RCMP evidence linking Indian government agents to crimes in Canada. Carney said on Friday that he and Modi in their discussion agreed to, quote, law enforcement and law enforcement dialogue. He also noted that some progress had been made on issues of accountability. Again, maybe so, but we have to take their word on that because what type of progress that is has not been made public. Dhaliwal said the RCMP had been clear in its concerns about the links between the Indian government and violent crimes taking place in Canada. He also pointed to Justice Marie-Josée Og's report into foreign interference that named India as one of the top countries attempting to meddle in Canada's democratic process. The invitation to Modi touches on issues of the rule of law and fundamental rights. He added, quote, we cannot sacrifice those values. And this is one of those things, again, kits and cubs, that is super duper messy because morally, he should not be here, right? When I first heard that the invitation was made, my first thought was, it's that so we can arrest him, right? And then there's Realpolitik, which is ugly in this case. The fact is, and the Prime Minister maybe should have explained it more rather than saying it's the 5th largest economy in the world and it's critical to certain supply chains, so it just makes sense that they would be there. There's more. And it surprised me that the Prime Minister didn't go into it more, given that he does like to explain. But we have a situation here where there are basically 4 main groups of people that we can associate ourselves with in some way, shape, or form. The United States, but we are having issues with it. Big ones at the moment. The European Union, that we are trying to get closer to, but the European Union has its own problems, right? I mean, Hungary is not really fully on board. Poland just elected a more right-wing government, right? We do have its 26 or 27 member nations and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we have a choice of dance partners, but not all the partners in there are particularly inclined to dance with us at the current moment, I would say, given what's going on in Ukraine and their various positions on it. Then there's China, who are right now, we're in another tariff war with them. And, well, it wasn't that long ago that they engaged in hostage diplomacy with us by kidnapping 2 of our foreign nationals to try to pressure us to impose China law within Canada's borders. And there's India, world's most populated nation, fellow Commonwealth nation, with whom, we do have, or until recently had pretty decent relations, but not a deep one. It's not like we have a free trade deal with India or anything like that. And those are our major choices, really. None of these choices are good. None of these choices are good. I mean, in terms of values and everything, the choice of the European Union is the one that's the most obvious. And it's a big market, over 400 million people, and there's an opportunity to boost some trade, and we have the comprehensive trade agreement with the EU nations. That's not fully ratified by all the nations, but ratified enough that trade is increasing and things are going well. But it might be insufficient. On its own, it might not be enough. So at this point, you're looking at, who do we have to deal with? Well, we can't get closer to the United States. The whole reason we're doing this is to try to consciously decouple some way from it. And we don't know when that country is going to become a reliable trading partner or just a reliable anything, really, with us. So that doesn't look like a particularly attractive proposition. China, well, they don't have democratically elected governments. So if China decides that they would want to break us to own us, the way that the United States seems to be doing it, China can make that a 50-year plan rather than something that needs to be done for. Right? And we all know that China's overall PR policy is that China never, ever, 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 ever does anything wrong. It's everybody else that always interferes in China's internal affairs. So I'm not sure how much leeway we can make there. How much headway, I should say, we can make there. And then there's India. Of all the options, I hate to say, it may be our better one, our best one. We know that Modi didn't have much love for Trudeau. Now that he's gone, there could be some thawing. While authoritarian, the Modi government has. Again, I don't know if with what authority I can say that, but doesn't seem to be. India still seems to be a nation where it is possible that there could be a change in government. Let's put it that way, down the line. We also know that India is not yet at the big boys' table in the as again above the fifth column or Bell of the Ranch now calls it the international poker table at which everyone's cheating. They want to get to the big table. They're not there yet. Now, one of the conditions of getting to that big table is probably India accepting that extrajudicial killings on other nations, particularly friendly nations' soil, is a no-no, and that has to stop. And maybe that's some of the discussion. Prime Minister Carney, as Mr. Grizzly points out frequently, has worked in the world of finance and knows all the people and has all the contacts. There could be some discussions behind the scenes that India, we know that you want to get at the big table. I can help you with that. But first, you got to do us a favor, though. And that might be stopping those types of actions. So that might be some of the progress there, and that might be the exchange here that makes it interesting. It's worth exploring in an eyes wide open kind of way. If one is, again, doing the thing in the back room with the calculator, of the options, if we're going to have to associate with some big economic engine or potential economic engine somewhere around the world to help us, between the United States, China, India, and the EU, the EU is attractive, but may offer some limited opportunities, and we're pursuing that. We're trying to do as best as we can with the United States because, unfortunately, in this case, we share geography and we're inextricably linked in that way. We're trying to deal with China in a certain way as well because they've got tariffs on us and we would like to smooth that relationship over, particularly for farmers in the West and the fisheries on all coasts. So, like it or not, and we don't like it, the ugly, 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 very ugly realpolitik of the situation is that India, as flawed as it is, as tense as our relation is, and as questionable as are the actions that its government commits, might be our best option if we want to gain some independence from the United States without running directly into the arms of China. I don't like it. We don't have to like it. We really don't have to like it. But we don't get to choose the chess pieces that are on the board. And the chessboard as it is now, that does seem like the best of a whole suite of terrible options. And if we go by the two things that we keep on saying on the show, number one, politics is the last place to which people should look for morality. And two, that nations do not have friends, they have interests. And right now, our number one interest is decoupling from the United States and diversifying our trade partners. Yeah, India, as tarnished as it is the belle of the ball. And hence, Modi's coming to town. Yeah. I feel dirty saying it. But yeah, maybe getting in bed with India, fingers crossed, that might have a new government someday that may not be of the style that Modi's is, could be our best long-term play. Because we know it's not like communism is going to disappear from China anywhere in the next 50 years. And United States, well, I mean, you got the orange shit stain talking about third term, right? And the manner in which it's going. I mean, if Trump is gone, the yahoos who are still behind him still want that power to do whatever it is that they want to do with it, Project 2025 and beyond. That does not seem to be going away soon, particularly since the Democratic response seems rather limp. Again, it's icky and gross and all of it to even have to say it, to even have to entertain the idea. But that's what we got. I do not know. I wish I had more to be able to tell you. I wish I had more that I could give you, more sunny optimism, some positivity. You know, that's my vibe. Trying to look on the bright side of things while still keeping it real. There's nothing here. It pains me, but I've got nothing other than maybe 20 years down the road or 10 years down the road or something. Of all the options, this is the one that may still somewhat be salvageable. And that's really the best I've got. And it's completely and totally unsatisfying. But yeah, those are the cards that we've been dealt, and we've got to make the best of it. So, as distasteful as it is, the Prime Minister's probably making the best decision he can with regard to this. But it needs more than they're the fifth largest economy, and they are a vital part of many supply chains. So it just makes sense. There has to be more work done to bring people along here, because that on its own just seems it's too cold as a statement. Like I said, again, strategically and IQ wise and whatnot, given what we have, it may be the right decision. But there is a definitely visceral, emotional component to this that does need to be addressed. And at the moment, I'm not sure that the government of Canada is doing that portion of the job particularly well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's not. I'm not jumping up and down. It's not like I'm going, yahoo, go Prime Minister Carney on this one, like when he was talking about building one economy out of 13, or right, stating that our traditional relationship with the United States is over. This is a different type of statement. And again, I might sound like I'm repeating myself. While it may be the best decision that we have, I don't like it. I don't like it. I just don't. I don't think that we got enough out of the government of India yet to warrant that type of invitation. Yeah. But hopefully, on the other side, and this is from Thomas Junot, who's you've probably seen a lot on TV when he talks about this type of stuff, and he's been a commentator on this for quite a long time, and I do very much respect him. He too is of the same view that we have to do diplomacy sometime. Yes, and this is a good opportunity for it. We do have something that makes it attractive enough for India to maybe want to consider doing things differently. That is true. It's just that I'm not particularly sure that Narendra Modi is any more trustworthy as a partner than is Chairman Xi or President Trump at the moment. And I'm not sure that we have as lengthy and as an experience dealing with that country as we have with China and the United States for us to have enough confidence that this is something that could work. It has a little too much taking a shot in the dark quality for me, and I personally would prefer a little more certainty, or as much as you can get in foreign relations, because you have to offer the grace and assume that people are telling you the truth and they are of their word. When you're dealing with people who have a history of maybe not being. So, it's not good. That's all I can say. It's just not good. Hopefully, the reaching out and the diplomacy part of it will thaw some relationships and make it such that things can get better, and that this will prove to be a sound decision down the road. But yeah, not great at all. All right, kits and cubs, let's see what else do we have for you here today. Yeah. That thing that we talked about last week about that phone call from the Conservative Party of Canada that was looking to raise funds based on the need to question judicial recounts after the recounts had been settled, and the two in particular had actually gone the Conservatives' way, which makes it really silly that this would have been done. Some people were asked about that, and CBC reports, when we talked about it, when they talked to the communications person at the Conservative Party of Canada, Sarah Fisher, seeming to push back that there was anything wrong with this. But for some reason, however, when they mentioned yes, but, and the caller actually, the caller from the Conservative Party had actually hung up on the person. So, oh, well, we need to look into that because caller etiquette is something that's very important to us, was the party's stance. Caller etiquette, not the misrepresentation or the lie or the potential grifting or the potential attempt to fleece someone out of up to $1,750 based on a false pretense. That doesn't seem to require investigation or looking into, but the fact that the person trying to grift hung up on the person they were calling after being challenged. Well, that we need to look into. The Conservatives believe that the issue here is phone etiquette and not lying to your own supporters. Boggles the mind. Absolutely, completely boggles mind. Also, kids and cubs, Melissa Lanceman, who kids and cubs, I do not have any love for whatsoever, appeared on Power and Politics and was asked about that. And after an interview in which her normal usual charm, which is that of a cactus, was on full display. So if you've been watching the interview up until this point, you're probably a tad frustrated with her and the haughty attitude that she has. But she was asked specifically, and you will see that attitude does not change at all here. And she says some interesting things, but just like Sarah Fisher, doesn't address the core of the issue. And you will actually see in this response that she actually does something. First of all, she doesn't even let the interviewer ask the full question. And then she just responds with whatever she likes here. And watch if you will see the clever little move that she makes.
This fundraising call we've been reporting on today, and essentially it's a conservative campaigner speaking to supporters, kind of raising doubts about the judicial recounts that happened in some ridings in the last election. Do you have any concerns about how that call was handled and
Look,
what those
I have
people
full
are
confidence in Elections Canada to make sure that we have the right people who are working that election or all elections right across the country, and the right people that are elected. We'll continue to have full confidence in Elections Canada, and when it's time, we'll go back to the people to seek a mandate in another election.
All right, let's leave it.
All right. I don't know if you see what she did there. But she didn't let him ask the question, so he couldn't put the premise out there for her to respond to. The question was about concerns about the call. I have full confidence in Elections Canada that they run elections well. That's not the question, Lanceman. The question was about the call, the person that your party hired to make this call. Elections Canada is not the question. Elections Canada's behavior, Elections Canada is not at all that question. The question is, were you concerned with the call? And she answers, I have confidence in Elections Canada. Nothing of this has to do with Elections Canada. It's an entirely Conservative Party of Canada issue. It's not Elections Canada who placed the call to raise money for the Conservative Party of Canada. And again, tacked on at the end of the interview. And again, the reporter, the journalist doesn't turn around and go, whoa, wait a minute. Again, our media is just too damn deferential. The problem is not with Elections Canada. And then you had the other party spokesperson, Kate Harrison, while admitting, say, yeah, well, this probably shouldn't be happening, but it doesn't make sense. We won those. Saying, probably what happened is that they had an old script. Why did they have an old script? After the decisions had already been made and the 2 seats flipped back to the Conservatives. The judicial recounts were complete and they are unappealable. Why would someone still have an old script at that point? And this is several days later. It's not like it's the day later and oops, we forgot to switch it. These answers don't make sense. They don't make sense. They don't stand up to scrutiny. And they're allowed to give these answers and then just skate by. I don't know how many of those calls were made with that script. I don't know how many calls that particular caller made. But it is up to the responsibility. It's the responsibility of the party to make sure that the callers have the right script. If that's what the question was. And the party doesn't seem to be taking this all too seriously. Because they're more concerned about the phone etiquette that the person trying to steal to gain money from a Conservative supporter under false pretenses, they're more concerned about the fact that she hung up on him. Then she lied to him and attempted to commit fraud. The party wishes to talk about Elections Canada's conduct rather than the conduct of the caller. And the party wishes to say, oh, well, it must have been a bad script. Like the caller was not aware? Like the party was not aware that the recounts had gone their way? These responses are not satisfying and they insult our intelligence. And they are not being pressed on it. They're going to be allowed to give these 3 stupid platitudes and just walk away. This is not okay. I swear. We're not curious enough. We're not insistent enough. And we're not willing to call bullshit enough. These were not answers that respect either our democratic process or the intelligence of the viewers. I'm really, really getting tired of having my intelligence insulted. The words Elections Canada should have never been in her mouth in that response. And I do not understand why we keep on letting them get away with this type of non-answer and behavior. So we have the Conservatives not being serious about the fraud. We have provincial Conservatives in the form of Danielle Smith claiming that, they have the worst living standards in the world. And according to Realpolitik, back in the precinct, the Conservatives will start this week by issuing a fresh call for the minority Liberal governments to deliver a full budget before the chamber shuts down for the summer, as requested. Not exactly true. As requested by the non-binding motion that the party plans to put forward to trigger the first opposition-initiated debate of the new parliamentary session. If you remember, we showed you that the motion urged, not forced, the government to present either an economic statement or a budget. So in other words, the Conservative Party of Canada has just announced that they are going to waste our time and our money to demand a full budget when they know they're not going to get one. The best that they are going to get is a statement. And again, as Evan Scrimshaw told us, this is a type of statement or financial accounting is required by virtue of the fact that the estimates process is happening, and those have to be approved by June 23rd. So the Conservatives were demanding something that was going to come anyway. Well, first of all, they wanted a full budget, then they had to water it down to say urge rather than force a full budget or an economic statement to get the NDP and the Green votes required to embarrass the government. Yes. The government, and then they ran around saying that they forced the government to present a full budget when they didn't. The motion doesn't say that, and there will be not full budget, spring budget. There will not be a spring budget. Yes, and there might be some type of statement, which was going to happen anyway with the estimates. So basically, they moved a lot of wind to get something that was already planned to be delivered anyway. And now they're going to spend a whole day, or not the whole day, but take an opposition day and have a motion demanding a full budget when the statement asks for budget or an economic statement, pretending again that the motion requires a full budget and that the government is somehow defying the will of the House when motions are non-binding. Literally a waste of our time. The motion, which stands in the name of the party's finance critic, Jasraj Hallan, who has no financial experience, points out that Carney, quote, said he will be held to account by prices Canadians pay at the grocery store, but contends that, quote, under the Liberal government, food inflation continues to rise, forcing families to eat less nutritious foods, and urges the House, quote, to call on the government to present a fiscally responsible budget before the House adjourns for the summer that reverses Liberal inflationary policies so Canadians can afford to put food on the table. That debate will get underway this morning and will continue until regular parliamentary programming wraps up this afternoon, although as yet there's no word on whether the ensuing vote will be held tonight or postponed until tomorrow. So Conservatives are basically behaving stupidly. Another way that Conservatives are behaving stupidly is Leslyn Lewis. Because Leslyn Lewis has been talking recently about government estimates. And it would seem that she doesn't know where and when in time she actually exists, if we are going to take what she says to be true. She says here in a tweet, would you sign a check for $486 billion without knowing where the money was going? This is exactly what this government is asking taxpayers do. The result, more debt, more inflation, and more taxes. The Prime Minister must table a budget. Put a pin in that one. All right. We'll get back to that. Also, a couple of other things from Leslyn Lewis's Twitter feed, which, by the way, Kits and Cubs, as I often, and as Mr. Grizzly often states, there are a lot of people with PhDs who are plenty book smart in their own field, but dumb otherwise. Leslyn Lewis is a perfect example of that. She has a doctorate in law, but cannot seem to understand the legislative process in any way, shape, or form. And she's an elected representative. Another one, citing the National Post, John Ivison, who's never been willing to, has never met an opportunity to punch down on the Liberals that he's passed upon, puts out an article, says the first Carney spending numbers are out and they're as bad as Trudeau's. That's because they are Trudeau's, Mr. Ivison. They are Trudeau's. Dr. Leslyn Lewis, Canadians can't afford to continue handing out cushy multi-million-dollar consulting contracts to friends of Trudeau and Mark Carney. Friends of Trudeau and Mark Carney, of course, right? Because they just can't quit Trudeau. While Canadians worry about affording meals and shelter, the PM prioritizes putting money in the pockets of Liberal insiders. Trudeau spent $20.7 billion in 2023-2024 on outside consultants, and this year Carney will up that to $26 billion. That's over $5 billion more of your tax dollars going to rich consultants. It's like a bad recurring dream that will only end in inflation. The estimates And again, going back to our previous post, would you vote on something when you didn't know what was in it? The only reason Leslyn Lewis would not know what is in those estimates is if she didn't read them when they were tabled before Parliament was prorogued. They sound like Trudeau's numbers because they are Trudeau's numbers. The estimates were tabled when Trudeau was Prime Minister. They're not Carney's numbers. These people are totally and completely exhausting. So, the second of 4 evening sessions to go through the fine print of the latest estimates, which, as previewed by iPolitics last month, because I'm reading, from an article here by iPolitics, would typically be divvied up amongst committees, but due to the abbreviated timeline for the spring sitting, are instead under review by Committee of the Whole. The extended after-hours sitting will begin after regular House proceedings wind down for the day and will include up to 4 hours of committee-style cross-examination of ministers by MPs who, as per standard parliamentary protocol, must decide whether to approve the proposed expenditures before the supply cycle expires on June 23rd. This will start happening around 6 p.m. tonight. As Prime Minister Mark Carney promises to strengthen Canada's economy by, quote, spending less and investing more, the government's financial records show year-over-year public expenditures are set to increase over the current fiscal year. With one of the new administration's first actions in Parliament, the Treasury Board's President Shafkat Ali tabled the main estimates on Tuesday, which provide a detailed breakdown of how taxpayer dollars are being spent. So, as Leslyn Lewis is saying, would you approve money when you didn't know how they're being spent? The breakdown of how they're being spent is there, and that breakdown was probably given prior to the House being prorogued. But the estimates show total spending is set to rise by $486.9 billion during the 2025-26 fiscal year, marking an 8.4% increase from last year. More than half, $264 billion of the spending has been approved through pre-existing legislation, that Leslyn Lewis appears to not be aware of, based on her previous tweet. While the remaining funds, $222.9 billion, must be introduced in the House of Commons as an appropriate bill, which is then voted on by MPs. The estimates also include $73.4 billion in spending that was authorized through special warrants approved by the Governor General. Special warrants are used to approve public spending during exceptional circumstances like an election campaign, allowing public services to continue without a vote in Parliament. So some of that money, $73.4 billion, is for keeping the country running from the time that Parliament was prorogued until about this time. But she doesn't know where the money's going, allegedly. She doesn't know what she's voting on. Traditionally, the estimates are required to be tabled by March, so they can be examined before the start of a new fiscal year on April 1st. However, Justin Trudeau's decision to prorogue Parliament in June, combined with the election period, delayed the tabling of estimates until Tuesday. So yeah, Conservatives, again, trying to misrepresent reality to Canadians, while at the same time basically stating, I don't know how to do my job. They don't care what they look like when they are making these accusations. It's just dumb. And then a little bit of news that will probably make Conservatives happy, and it's probably news that had to happen. But the company GC Strategies that had worked on the ArriveCan app, and there was some controversy about how it did it. According to the Canadian press on June 6th, Ottawa says it has banned the largest contractor that worked on the ArriveCan app from entering into contracts or real property agreements with the government for 7 years. Public Services and Procurement Canada has announced that GC Strategies has been deemed ineligible after an assessment of the supplier's conduct. Last year, the department suspended the security status of GC Strategies, which the Auditor General says was awarded more than $19 million for the project. The federal government launched the app in April 2020 as a way to track health and contact information for people entering Canada during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as to digitize customs and immigration declarations. On Monday, Canada's Auditor General Karen Hogan is set to deliver an audit focusing on whether the contracts awarded and the payments made to GC Strategies and other companies were good value for money. Public Services and Procurement Canada says the government continues to take action to strengthen the integrity of the procurement process. So a 7-year ban for GC Strategies. Appropriate, I would say. Appropriate. This is getting the little things right here in this case. A little bit more parliamentary procedure housekeeping here. Because there's lots of pieces going on because they're trying to get a lot done before July 1st. But there are 10 days remaining in the current sitting, but only 6 of those can be devoted to government business. So they got to do all of this in 6 days unless they plan to extend the session, which Mark Carney has indicated that he would be willing to do. The other 4 days have been set aside for supply. The first day long opposition triggered debate set to begin on Monday when the Conservatives are planning to make a second attempt at pressuring the Liberals to presenting a fiscally responsible budget before the House adjourns for the summer, as we mentioned, as courtesy of once again, a non-binding motion to be put forward by the Conservatives. Government House Leader Stephen McKinnon announced that Tuesday has also been designated as an allotted day and will likely go to the Bloc Québécois, whose members have already started putting motions on notice, although they won't have to decide which one to bring forward until Monday afternoon. Under standard House protocols, 2 more supply days will have to take place before the supply cycle wraps up on June 23rd, which, due to the Saint Jean-Baptiste Day holiday, effectively makes June 20th the deadline to deal with the estimates and any other pending House business, which would include any legislation in the queue for final approval. Depending on how his behind-the-curtains negotiations with his opposition counterpoints are playing out, McKinnon could take advantage of the one-day window to propose adding a temporary evening shift to the regular parliamentary workday. As per the standing orders, that motion may only be moved on the 10th sitting day before the supply cycle expires, which in this case would be Monday, and must be put to a vote no later than 2 hours after the request is made. If he can convince at least one other party to back the plan, it would at least extend the available House time, although that still might not be enough to get them to agree to put the internal trade bill on the procedural fast track, particularly if there's no guarantee that committees will be up and running in time to conduct even a lightning round review of the fine print. The Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs is now on track to hold their first huddle early this week to finalize the membership lists based on submissions from the parties. So they're going to be determining the membership lists for all the other committees that will be in operation for the session of Parliament. Depending on how quickly it can be finalized, those lists could be reported back to the House of Commons as early as later that same day, although it could take several days or even weeks for the newly struck committees to hold organizational meetings to elect chairs and vice chairs, as well as to agree on the procedural rules of engagement at the table. Also on the radar, as we mentioned, the Auditor General. So there will be a fresh batch of performance reports from her, Karen Hogan, which are set to be tabled in the House of Commons this week, including, as per the advisory, the much anticipated results of her follow-up investigation into GC Strategies, which we just talked about. And then the audit will focuses on whether the contracts awarded and the payments made to GC Strategies and other companies incorporated by its co-founders were in accordance with applicable policy instruments and whether value for money for these contracts were obtained. It seems that the Auditor General confirmed that her office will look at all government contracts awarded to GC Strategies, its predecessor, Corridal, and other companies incorporated by the 2 co-founders, as well as related subcontracts. There you go. And just days before the report was due to be released, Public Services and Procurement Canada served notice that the company had been banned from entering into contracts, as we had mentioned as well there. So as well, Hogan and her team will weigh in on the ongoing bid to deliver Canada's future fighter jet capability, and more specifically, quote, whether National Defence developed plans for the introduction of the CF-35A fighter craft into service and achieved progress against them, so that fighter jet capability would be delivered on time and on budget to meet government operational commitments. As well, the quote, current and future use of federal office space and the management of registrations under the Indian Act. So those are all the things that will be looked at. A little process heavy here, but these are important things to do because, the Auditor General is one of the parliamentary watchdogs that responds back to Parliament, not directly to the government, and therefore what they has to say is rather important. All right, before we go, kids and cubs, talking about some Canadians who make us proud. Of course, we showed Summer McIntosh there, but she's not the only one. In the AHL, if you're following hockey at that level, the Abbotsford Canucks eliminated the Texas Stars 4-2 in their series to advance to the final versus the Charlotte Checkers. And in the ECHL, the Trois-Rivières Lions won their series 4-1, and they have claimed the Kelly Cup. So that comes to Canada. Congratulations to the Trois-Rivières Lions. Team Canada under 20 women's soccer team won the CONCACAF championship, defeating Mexico 3-2 on an absolutely fantastic goal by Annabelle Chukwu. If you have an opportunity to see it, we can't show it because we would get dinged from it, but from a nearly impossible angle, made a spectacular goal. And it was a reversal of pool play where Canada had lost 4-2 to Mexico. Yeah, in the grudge match, Canada won it and won the gold medal at the CONCACAF Under 20 Women. So congratulations for a great performance. At the AmeriCup Under 16 Basketball Championships organized by FIBA, Fédération Internationale de Basketball, Canada was playing the United States in the final, so we know how that ended up. The United States won 108-71, but a great performance by Team Canada, taking the silver medal there in that tournament. So again, really good stuff, and lots to be proud of with regard to our Canadian athletes. Finally, because we are getting close to Canada Day, if you are a big fan of the National Film Board of Canada and you happen to be living in Montreal, the NFB is announcing that you can see recent gems from the National Film Board collection on the big screen in Montreal starting on Thursday, June 5th. So it's already underway. They are presenting 9 free public screenings until July 31st at the NFB's Alanis Obomsawin Theatre in the heart of the Quartier des Spectacles. Reservations are required. So there you go, kids and cubs. If you are looking to take in some great work by the NFB, you can do so. And they're showing some very good stuff. Like, for example, on Thursday 26th, they will be showing, to mark Pride Month, Parade, Queer Acts of Love and Resistance by Noam Gonik, which was a 2025 production. It's a Quebec premiere. It's presented in collaboration with Fierté Montréal and Imagination, the gay and lesbian the Rainbow Film Festival in Montreal, as well as the Pride organization, and will be followed by a Q&A with contributors to the film. And it's preceded by the animated short I Like Girls by Diana Bomsawin, which was made in 2016. And then there are plenty of others up until the 31st. So every Thursday evening, if you're living in Montreal and would like to take in some fare offered by the NFB, it is free. So there you go. Take advantage of it if you can. And also, to mark Indigenous History Month, which is June, along well with Men's Mental Health Month and a whole bunch of other things. The NFB will allow streaming on the NFB's platforms to celebrate National Indigenous Month with 3 new releases showcasing the strength and resilience of Indigenous people. Ossie Michelin's Feather Fall, about an iconic moment of Indigenous resistance filmed in Mi'kmaq territory. Alanis Obomsawin's My Friend the Greenhouse, where an animal from the filmmaker's dreams embodies the spirit of kindness and a celebration of life. And Christopher Ochter's The Stand, which recreates the moment when the Haida Nation took a stand for the future. So that will be available on their streaming platform. The movie as well that we mentioned, Parade, Queer Acts of Love and Resistance, will also be launching on their streaming platform as well. And then there will be other things as well. But yes, a whole bunch of things, films and documentaries and that type of stuff to mark Indigenous Pride Month and Pride Month on the NFB platform. So please, if you're a fan of the National Film Board, and they do absolutely quality work, frequently nominated for Oscars, I would invite you to take some time to check in with that. It's one of the good things that our country produces that actually doesn't get a lot of visibility and it's not appreciated enough, to be totally honest. So if you have some time to support the NFB by going in and checking some of their offerings, that would be a great thing to do. All right, kids and cubs, I think that that's all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you loved this show. It was a bit of a darker show, right? Unfortunately, they can't all be sunny. But hopefully you appreciated the information because we very much appreciated and enjoyed putting it together and bringing it to you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please, 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 if you can, share it with your peeps and poops. Tell them all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. And sorry, kids and cubs who are watching the live, that I've not been able to put too many of your comments here on the chat during the day. So going back and forth between notes a lot on this show. But I am seeing your comments, and they are, of course, as usual, kids and cubs, to a standard that leaves me impressed. And I thank you so much for your participation. If you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode, kids and cubs, you do not have to at all because, hey, if you're busy and you are on the go, we are portable and you can take us with you. Thanks to the Ray Girl who sponsors our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or if you scan that QR code that has just appeared, well, hey, if you're on the go, we have an ears only version podcast and you can take us with you. So thank you so much. And if you go to our pod page and click on subscribe, when we have fresh episodes right off the bandwidth, it comes directly to your podcast stream. You don't even have to go looking for it. It's that easy. If you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, then you need to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where kids Cassie and Elaine will be there waiting for you and urging you to click with our buttons. Go on, get freaky, like, share, subscribe, click 1, click 2, click 3. Get happy. It helps us with the algorithm. So thank you so very much. And if you happen to be listening to our podcasts on any platform that allows you to give stars and reviews, please do, because that also helps us very much with the algorithm. So thank you for all that you do, kids and cubs, on that front. And if you'd like to help us in other ways, well, have we got a deal for you? Because if you would like to do your bit to keep your favorite beaver moist, and unfortunately, this time the cup actually is empty because I've consumed all my water. So if you would like to refill my cup, and you see I'm not drinking from it because I'm not doing what Pierre did. There's nothing in the cup, so there's no reason to raise it. But if you would like to fill our cup, kids and cubs, we would be very, very, very grateful for your efforts in that capacity. And we thank you so very much for your generous donations to keep us going. Thank you. Of course, everything that you donate does go back into the show. And we do have a couple of kids and cubs to thank, which we will do on a later show, who have made some contributions. And we do want to recognize you. So thank you so very much for your continued support. It really does mean the world to us. If you would like to make sure that your contribution, if you would like to make one, is 100% Canadian, because you are doing that Buy Canadian thing, then a direct transfer from your bank to ours via TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com. Make sure that your process is entirely Canadian. You avoid the US CE Tech Pros. And as a bonus, we get 100% of your donation. So if you would like to donate that way, kids and cubs, that would be very, very much appreciated. Now, that same email address, TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com, is where you can write to us to let us know what you think about the show. Please send your thoughts, your opinions. If you have any gentle corrections, constructive criticisms, suggestions for guests, and kids and cubs on that front, we are in talks with a couple of senators at the moment. Kim Pate, who we talked about earlier, who has introduced 4 bills in the Senate, one of them being a UPI bill. And we have got contact information for her office and an invitation to write and to try and set something up. So hopefully that will work out. And it seems as well with another senator, and I just want to make sure that I get his name right, which might be tricky to do at this time. So I might have to do it on another show. But another senator as well as asked us to contact his office and to be able to talk about things. I mentioned my letter to the parliamentary secretary asking for about more money for research chairs. And the senator had piped up and said that he was specifically working on that. So we extended an invitation because we wanted to say, well, if you are working on that, if you would like to come and talk to our audience about that, we would really, really be happy to have you on. And he said, yeah, just get in contact with us and we'll see what can happen. So yeah, we'll definitely have this gentleman on, and I wish I could find his name, but I can't at the moment because they are really involved in that initiative, but also because they are also very concerned with issues related to mental health. And as you know, kids and cubs, this coming weekend on the 14th, we will have our annual mental health walk. And we encourage you to call someone that you love and invite them out for a walk and check in on their mental health, particularly the men and the male identifying people in your lives, because again, men often don't necessarily open up with regards to that. And so to create some space where it's safe to talk and check in on our mental health is there. The senator, of course, I found the name, Senator Stan Kutcher, has invited us to contact his office to speak about that. And as he says, Senator from Nova Scotia, committed to improving mental health outcomes, and the use of best available scientific evidence to guide decision making. So the perfect person for both those things at once, our mental health walk, and for talking about what it is that we are doing in terms of making ourselves one of the strong economies with regard to our participation in the knowledge economy, because as I keep on saying, while deploying AI to increase productivity is very important, we also can't afford to forget about IP, intellectual property, because patents, baby. That's where it is. So hopefully we'll have Senator Stan Kutcher on the show relatively soon so that we can talk about these things. Seems to be a very, very pleasant gentleman, and we very much look forward to our conversation. So we've been working very hard to try to get some quality guests for you kids and cubs. And hopefully the opportunities will materialize and we will be able to bring these shows to you. Sometimes we do get a commitment and then unfortunately schedules make it such that can't be followed up upon. So hopefully these two senators will be able to have them on the show for you relatively soon. Thank you so much. And again, if you've got suggestions, please, for guests, let us know, and we'll do our best try to get them on. We're working on a few other people too, but we don't want to announce it right away. But there's two other guests to whom we've been, four other people to whom we've been reaching out, and hopefully to get them on the show, but we have not heard back yet. We've heard initial interest from two about wanting to, and when we have trouble finding an email address to actually get the formal invitation to them, and we're hoping to hear back so that we can do that. The other one, we have sent a formal invitation, and we're doing a double check because sometimes things go to people's junk folders, so we want to be sure that it didn't slip through the cracks. And the third one has also an invitation we've sent out, but we haven't heard anything one way or the other yet. So we don't want to reveal names at the moment, but we are reaching out and hoping to bring some quality interviews for you, doing the hard work of it, kids and cubs, and hopefully they will be materialized because they would be excellent shows, we believe. All right, that's all we have for that. Remember, kids and cubs, democracy is something that you do, and there are some by-elections coming up in Alberta in three ridings, provincial ones. So please, as we told you the other day who the candidates are. So if there's a candidate in there that you like, please do what you can to try to help, either donations, door knocking, phone banking, anything like that. And of course, if you live in one of those three ridings, make sure you make your plan to vote and invite friends to vote with you. Right. And of course, Quebec Liberal leadership race. We are the 9th, so voting starts today if you are registered to vote and continues until the 14th. Please make sure to cast your ballots if you are registered. Okay, words of wisdom, kids and cubs. Listen, like I said, this show was a little heavier, and we're looking at some situations where all the choices, uh, situations in which there seems to be no obvious good choice, only bad and less worse choices, really. And it can be discouraging. It really can. So if you have the opportunity today to do something nice for yourself, or something just calming or relaxing, please take advantage of the opportunity to do so. Um, with the G7 coming up, the next week or so news uh, might be rather heavy. And self preservation is a thing, triage is a thing. But yeah, taking some time to step away from politics a little bit and just putting your mind in a different place for a while is good. It's healthy. And if this week it seems to get a bit much, um, if you need to check out for a while, that's okay. We understand. All right. Self preservation, self care above everything else. All right. Kids and cubs, could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Now, on the count of three, kids and cubs, the fun part of the show, audience participation. Can I hear you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock in 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes. That does my soul a lot of good. It does. Here you are. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. There, kids and cubs. I really don't have much for an Easter egg today, but I wanted to follow up on my comment about your comments and just read a few more into the record while I have a couple of minutes here. Because again, um, you guys are amazing. You really think things through, and you really get involved in the meat of the subject. We have a comment here from Kit PNC Bio. If your point is that Danielle Smith does not prioritize the well-being of Canada over the well-being of Alberta, I entirely agree, and I think that position is reprehensible. Kit Lindam here. I have a feeling that Carney is not shy about ruffling feathers if he thinks something is right. I hope that that is indeed the case. I have Kit Christian here, disappointed with my vote, really starting to despise Carney. Total effing liar. I can understand how some people might be having that feeling. Let's give time for things to play out, however. Again, leadership is not easy and often does mean choosing from a bad range of choices. But yes, there are some question if you put together the borders bill and the invitation to Modi, that could be two things that legitimately, you want to put a pin in to see if those are indications of something or not. Uh, but it's probably a good idea to let them play out and see where he goes with them, because there are how things appear at first blush, and then there are how things play out. And sometimes they are different. So there's reason for questions. I'm not sure we're at the point that we have enough evidence to make a conclusion. But vigilance is always required. And yeah, those are two things that have caught my attention. And, you know, we may be getting competence with regard to financial matters. We may be getting a plan, but we may be getting other things as well, right? So we have to keep an eye open for that. But yes, there is legitimate cause for people to be asking questions at this moment. That is most definitely for sure. You've got Kit Cassie here saying, if you're interested in a good debate podcast, economics Professor Scott Galloway versus Kevin O'Leary and Pierce Morgan this past Friday. Galloway was brilliant. Yes, there's a clip going around that hopefully we'll have a chance to bring to you. But talking about the depravity of men, which we were talking earlier on in this episode, exactly, and asking whether or not we are making trade-offs that we really, really, really should not be making and accepting at this moment. And it was a good comment. It was a comment that was delivered calmly and relatively slowly. And for some reason, Pierce Morgan and Kevin O'Leary, who are both motor mouths, actually sat there and allowed him time and space to make the point without interrupting every 5 seconds or jumping on every little thing. Which was kind of weird to me because that's typically their behavior. So either Mr. Galloway is extremely respected or he was making a point that was so compelling that both of them were speechless and making it in a compelling way. But yeah, that clip that's going around is absolutely one that is a must watch, and hopefully we'll be able to bring it to you here. All right. And and by the way, Kits and Cubs, yes. If you haven't seen it yet, I was on the O Show on Friday with Laura Babcock, and we were talking about a whole bunch of things there. So if you have an opportunity to support Laura, who's a friend of the podcast and a friend of the Beaver Lodge, and the first person really that has a podcast outside our network that has offered us a regular spot. Because we've been on the show, I think, once a month now since the beginning of the year to give us that type of visibility. Very, very much appreciated. And so if you have an opportunity to check out the show and give her a little love and support, that would be very appreciated as well. Okay, Kits and Cubs, that's what I got for you today. Thank you so very much for joining us. And we will see you again tomorrow, hopefully with some brighter news. All right. Amour et gros bisous. À la prochaine.